Our trees go strong and big. Let's add trees and custom tree generation to Minecraft. Alright, we find ourselves back in Intelligent once more, and in this tutorial we're going to be adding custom trees and custom tree generation to Minecraft, a very, very much requested topic over here, and let's start this. So first of all, we of course need all of the blocks necessary for our tree. So for this, what we're going to do is we're just going to get the jumpy block over here once, and we're going to make, first of all, the dogwood log. And yes, that apparently is a real type of wood. I have checked. I wanted to have something that's, that's not seen before. So there you go. Now this is going to be a pillar block, very important. So this is going to be a new pillar block, very, very important here. And of course, we also want certain things. Namely, we want to copy the actual fabric block settings here from blocks.oak_log, because this, of course, is the dogwood log here. Now, in theory, we actually don't need neither the strings nor the requires tool, so we should get this from the log. Now, you could, of course, keep this, but we're going to keep it like this. That's going to be fine. Now, let's duplicate this 4 times. Actually, we needed 7 times? 8 times? I'm not even sure. Like, it's a lot of times, basically. Yeah, I think that this should be right, because then we have dogwood wood. Very... A little bit of a bad naming scheme here, but that's okay. So I'm going to basically call this wood, changing the name here as well. That's very important. And here we also want to do oak wood in this case. And this one is actually the stripped variant, very important here. This is going to be the stripped_log, dogwood log. Yes, and then here the name as well. So stripped_, making sure we copy from the stripped oak log. Yes. And then this is the stripped dogwood wood, because that is a great name for a band, maybe. I don't know. There you go. Stripped dogwood wood. And then this is the stripped oak wood. Yes, there you go. So now the pillar blocks are all done. Then this is going to be the planks. Now the planks, very important, are of course, first of all, have to be renamed. That is number 1. So this is the dogwood planks. And then this is only a normal block. This is very important that we do not have this as a pillar block, because it is indeed not a pillar block. This is going to be the planks. There you go. And then this is going to be the leaves. This is the dogwood leaves. There you go. And here as well. And this is now a leaves block. Also very important that we choose the correct one. And then we're just taking the oak leaves here. There you go. And then last but not least, actually last but almost the most important, is the dogwood sapling in this case. There you go. And this is, as you might imagine here, a sapling block. Now, actually what we need is we're just going to put in a comma here, because the first parameter of the sapling block class, right, of the constructor here, is actually a tree grower in this case, or a sapling generator. And this is something we're going to, have to actually create in just a bit. But for the time being, now our blocks are added. Let's now go through the crazy process of adding, all of the crazy things that we need to add. Number 1, the different block renders here. So this is going to be for the leaves. That's going to be cutout is fine. And then for the sapling, the cutout is fine as well. So that is definitely should be added here. And then we also actually need all of the JSON files. So let's start with the JSON files, and then there's some other things that we need to do. So namely, it's going to be basically making the stripped variants and the normal variants, sort of making it so that you can turn one into the other, and then also the flammability of all of those blocks, because right now they would not burn. We're going to start with the JSON files. Now, all of this, as well as all of the code, is as always, of course, available to you in the description below. GitHub repository individual just as well, but for completion's sake here, we're just going to copy this over. It isn't anything crazy, right? The sapling literally just points to a model file, while the log here, in this case, has a block state property called axis with X, Y, and Z as its 3 possible values, and then just points to a different model and also rotates the block around. This, at this point, really shouldn't come as a surprise to you. This is literally how the normal wood works, and should be, pretty much fairly self-explanatory. Let's also add the translation over here. And here we are, the translation has been added, and then the models. Now, when it comes to the models, there are actually a few more block models than just, as many blocks as you have, basically, because there is also the horizontal one and the wood one and stuff like that. So let's just get all of this over here, and it should be, in theory, 9 of them. I think that is right, but I guess we're going to see when we go into the game and nothing works, then we're going to be able to see that as well, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to work, no worries. When it comes to the items, same deal here. It is 1 for each block this time. Especially here is the sapling that is actually points to a block texture in this case. Now, of course, the reason for this is because of the texture that is displayed in the world, right? That's like a cross is the same texture that we have inside of the inventory. That's why this, in this case, points to a block texture, just so that we don't need two textures of the same, like the same texture twice. Like that doesn't make any sense. Let's get the textures over here as well, because I've said texture so often that at this point it almost sounds made up, like a made up word, but it isn't. So then we have all of this done. That's pretty good already. However, now, of course, we need to make our blocks flammable. Now, to do this, what we're going to do is we're just going to make a new class over here. We're going to call this the mod flammable blocks over here. Let's go, and we'll just make a public static void called register flammable blocks. There you go, like it. And then what we want to do is we want to make a flammable block registry, or just, you know, a registry here, equal to flammable block registry.get default instance. And then what we can do is we can call registry.add. We can then add the blocks. So mod blocks, please. There you go. .log, and the log has 5 and 5. And I'm just gonna copy this over here. There's gonna be the wood also has 5. So the dog wood has 5 and 5. And both of the stripped variants also have 5 and 5. There you go. While the planks themselves have 5 and 20, and the leaves, those are crazy. They actually have 30 and 60 apparently. Now you could look this up in the Fireblock class, actually. That is where all of those different values are. Now we still need to call this. This is, of course, important, right? Mod flammable blocks dot register flammable blocks. If you have any other ones, you can, of course, just add them here via this registry, and then that should work as well. So that's pretty nice already. But we need another thing, and that is the strippable thing. So we're going to do mod strippable blocks as well. And we'll just do public static void register strippables. Sure, that is going to be fine. And this one uses the strippable block registry right here, .register. So this is the input. So modblocks.log is equal to modblocks.strippedlog. And then here it's going to be the wood in this case. So this is the dogwood wood is equal to the stripped dogwood wood. There you go. Bam. And then we also want to call this. Now, to make, if you want to make this a little bit nicer, you could, you know, also just put both of those in the same class. Just have one method that calls everything. But, you know, that's like basic Java stuff at this point. I think that you should be able to do that if you so choose to. At this time, we're just going to call the register strippables here as well. And that should be that. So now we have them strippable, and we also have them, well, flammable, which is really awesome indeed. Now, the only thing that is missing here is the sapling block one. Now, this sort of crosses over a little bit into world generation, because when you actually spawn a tree, it already uses some world generation. For this, in the feature package, we're going to make a new package called tree. And instead of here, we're going to make a new Java class called the dogwood sapling generator. There you go, which will extend the sapling generator class, this one right here. Hover over this and implement the method, the getTreeFeature method. Now, I will actually make a deliberate error right here, just so that I don't forget to actually add it here. And now in the modBlocks class, we can just make a new dogwood sapling generator. There you go. And that is now the modBlocks class done. Now we can proceed to the mod configured features, because this is where our tree, so to speak, is going to be created. I'm just going to create this at the bottom here, and I will be copying the entire thing over. Now, I will explain line by line, and also, of course, as always, you have everything available in the description below, GitHub repository and individual gist as well, so you can take a look at this, copy it over from there, and then you will see. So as you can see, we have a registry entry over here of configured feature of tree feature config question mark, and is called dogwood tree. Interestingly enough, now this is basically registered under the name dogwood tree. It is a tree feature, and then we need a tree feature config builder right here. Now there's all sorts of different things that are in here. The first one is a block state provider of the dogwood log. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, this particular block that you're supplying here is going to be placed as the trunk, right? And whatever trunk you're choosing here, in this case, it's the straight trunk placer. I can middle mouse button click and actually see all of the different trunk placers here. You could, in theory, also add your own trunk placer. However, it's very complicated, and we're not going to get into this at this point. The straight trunk placer here, basically, there's just the base height, and then you have two random heights that are basically being applied here. So the straight trunk placer literally just places these particular blocks here in a straight line up. And then we have to supply the leaves here via a block state provider as well. And that same thing, right? You could put in theory any block in here that you want, right? So you could, in theory, yes, you could make a gold trunk with diamond leaves. That actually does work. I highly recommend just playing around with this a little bit, having a little bit of fun, trying out some different placers, trunk placers, trying out some different numbers here as well. That can only always help. Same thing here with the trunk placer as with the foliage placer. In this case, it is just a blob foliage placer. So it's just going to sort of place the leaves in a blob sort of fashion with these numbers, right? 2, 0, and 4 height here in this case. Once again, just play around with the numbers a little bit, and then you're going to see the different ways that this works. Now, when it comes to the 2 layers feature size, this is still something that is a little bit of a mystery to me. I think this has to do a little bit with the fact that how close the different trees can be together, I believe, although I'm not 100% sure here. That is still, because at the end of the day, the world gen is quite crazy indeed. So that is one thing that I'm not 100% sure about. However, we now have the registry entry right here. So in theory, what we can do in the dog sapling generator, we can now return mod configured features dogwood tree, there you go, and that will be that. And now from our sapling we can already spawn our custom tree, and that's actually what we're going to do right now. We're going to try this out. So let's just go into the game and see if our tree already can spawn from our sapling. And we have missed something, and that is exactly the copying of this particular setting here. This actually will lead to it not working, so make sure to copy from the correct block, and now everything should work. So now let's jump into the game and see if it works. Alright, we find ourselves back in Minecraft, and as you can see, all of the different, wood and leaves and sapling has been added. So now let's place it down and let's see if we can grow it with some bone meal. And indeed we can. However, apparently something happened with the leaves, so this is probably something to do with the block state file. Because of course the model here works, but that is of course fixable. And also what you will see is that the leaves are decaying right here. Now we can also fix that very, very easily indeed. But this is the first part that already works really well. So the actual tree does spawn from a sapling. So that's very good indeed. So now let's fix the trees, or fix the leaves in, more than one way. Right, so for the texture, let's just search for leaves in here. And we should be hopefully able to find something. So you can see that that is fine. So missing a model for a particular variant over here. Let's just take a look at the leaves variant, and then we will see. Actually, there is no leaves block state, which probably explains why that wouldn't work. So there you go. So that is absolutely no worries. Let's just add the dogwood leaves here as well, and there we go. Now this should fix the error there. And to fix the despawning of the leaves, actually under data Minecraft tags in the blocks folder, we want to add our logs to the logs tag. So logs.json, and I will just copy over the contents of this in this case. There you go. So it's just all of our wood log and all of that, so that these particular blocks, if they're close to the leaves, then the leaves will no longer despawn. Right, so now let's continue with the world gen itself. So for the world gen itself, of course, we're going to continue with the configured features as well as some placed features. So how is this going to work? Well, it's going to be very, very strange indeed. However, not to worry, we're going to get through this nonetheless. So the first thing we need to do is basically we need to turn this configured feature into a placed feature. So let's get the first one over here. So this is the placed feature here called dogwood checked. Now this basically just takes this configured feature here and checks it if where to place it basically, and checks if at that position where the feature wants to place the tree, the sapling can survive. Now this is actually incredibly important and needed in this case, because if you don't have this, then your tree will just spawn like in the trees, like in the air and all of that. So this is why this is so extremely important to add. Next thing we're going to need is another configured feature. So we're going from configured feature to place feature to this configured feature, which is called the spawn. Now, this is very weird because it literally takes the dogwood checked and has a 50% chance of placing that one down and a 50% chance of placing the same thing down as well. I still haven't figured out how to do it any other way. This is why I'm doing it this way. If you have a better option, please do feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I will be sure to check that out. But for the time being, this is the way that I'm doing it, and this is the way that it has been working for me at least. And then we can go to the mod place features class and actually get the placed one in here. So this is the last one. Once again, there you go. And this is the placed feature, also called placed. So this is the one we're going to spawn in just a moment. Now I have one particular thing, the create count extra here. How does that work? Well, it's going to place down one tree, and then there's a 10% chance of placing 2 extra trees down. Now this chance right here is very important, so that you get this right. So this has to be 1 divided by this has to be an integer. Otherwise, it won't work. So basically, what you're going to have is if 1 divided by 0.1, of course, is going to be 10. Absolutely no worries. So 0.2 is going to work, right? We're going to have let's say 1 divided by 0.5 is going to work. That's fine. But something like 1 divided by 0.6, that is not going to work. That's very important. It has to be an integer, otherwise it will not work. I don't know why that is the case. If you do this and it's wrong, then you're going to get chance data cannot be represented as list weight. So keep that in mind. Very strange that they're doing this like this, but fair enough. That is just how it's going to be. So do keep that in mind. And now for this, we're going to make a new gen class over here. So this is going to be the mod tree generation. There you go. Let's take a look at the mod or generation. There you go. Where's this called? I think I'm calling this. Yeah, I'm calling this directly. We're going to fix that in just a moment as well. But that's okay. That's going to be public static void generate trees. And what we're going to do here is the following. Nothing too crazy. Very similar to the origin, actually. Biome modifications add feature. We're going to do biome selectors let's do found in overworld. Actually, no, let's do a specific one. Let's do include by key. And I believe this should be under biomes. It's under biome keys. Yeah, there you go, biome keys. And we're going to do this in plains. So we're going to only spawn this in plains biome. And this is going to be generation step. Very important. This is vegetal decoration. Very important here. And then mod placed features dogwood placed get key get. And that should be that. Now we're going to just add a new class over here. This is going to be the mod world gen class. And I'm just going to have public static void generate, there you go, world gen. Sure, that's going to be fine. And this is going to call, firstly, mod or generation generate ors, because that's like the or generation generates first. And then we want mod tree generation generate trees. And now instead of calling this one, we're just going to do mod world gen and then generate world gen. And there you go. That should pretty much be everything that we need to do. So I guess that should be pretty much everything that there is. So let's go into the game, make a new world, and see if it works. All right, as I've said, don't forget to create the new world here. Create new world, and then let's see if our trees spawn in the plains biome, but I'm pretty sure that they will. That's going to be very interesting indeed. All right, we find ourselves back in Minecraft, and well, let's just locate biome plains over here, and let's port over there, and I'm pretty sure there we actually go. The trees are already here. We have got the logs over here and all of that craziness. So that is actually amazingly perfect, and well, I mean, that's actually great. So they spawn, you can see the leaves also work, and they won't also despawn. So that's pretty awesome indeed. And that's how easy it can be to add some custom trees and tree generation to Minecraft. Right, but that's going to be it for this tutorial right here. Hope you found this useful and you learned something new, and I'll see you all in the next tutorial. So, yeah.